Thank you, Marshall, for joining today with our show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in with Finding Meaning with Suresh Basnet. I'm your host, Suresh, and today I'm with Marshall Graeber. Marshall has been in love, intimacy, relationship coach for many years. In fact, he's been one of my coaches for the last 9 months. So you guys are lucky. You're going to listen to my own coach today. Before we start the conversation, we're going to have a brief meditation for a minute or so. Then we'll start. So stay tuned right here. Don't go anywhere. We'll go start a meditation with the 3 path. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale from nose and exhale from mouth. This is our moment, just for us, just for you, just for me. Opportunity to connect with ourselves and each other so that we can connect with the rest of the world. If you're driving, of course, don't close your eyes, but you can listen and listen the whole episode. We'll quickly observe our body, see how we are feeling from top of the head to the toes all the way. Make sure your feet are touching the ground properly. Make sure that you're feeling your chair or cushion, wherever you're sitting. Make sure you're feeling your body and see what kind of sensation you can feel, whether it's a tingling or stress or pain or pleasure. Make sure that your shoulders are relaxed, your spine is straight and erected. Everything else can wait. This is our moment. And let's stay focused. Breathe in. Again, thank you for joining. I'm with Marshalll here. Marshalll, give us some your background, a little bit about yourself, what led you to what you are today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Suresh. Appreciate being here, and I'm excited for our conversation. So I call myself a sex and relationship coach at this point in time. I'm also an advanced certified Tantra educator. And I've got some wonderful pieces of paper that show all those wonderful certifications and things. And I started on my own journey of personal growth, self-discovery about 8-9 years ago. Was really when I kind of put the official start date on that. And it started this because I wasn't having the relationships with women that I wanted to have. I wasn't really dating anyone. I didn't have the sex that I wanted. So all of this was just like, oh, I don't have anything. And it became very painful and very frustrating. And on top of my personal life and sex life not being what I wanted, my job, my career was also becoming very frustrating. And eventually, after doing a little bit of exploring through the internet for more social groups to go find to meet up with, try to just make more connections, meet more people, I found this thing called orgasmic meditation. And real simply, orgasmic meditation is a 15-minute partnered consciousness practice where one person strokes the clitoris of the other person for 15 minutes. That's it. And there was a company that taught that and offered some courses and more philosophy to back up the practice and to supplement learning around the practice. And there was a really rich and deep, vibrant community around the practice. So there was a lot of really amazing people to go ahead and get into deeper on self-reflection and connection with others, and really explore that both from a somewhat non-traditional educational standpoint, and also practicing kind of out in the wild, as it were, in life with other practitioners and community members. And one of the big things that really like got me to the spot where I was like, oh, I have to change something, was the fact that whenever I felt angry in the presence of a woman, those interactions growing up never went well. Whether it was my sister, my mom, or my girlfriend, or whoever it was, like I couldn't figure out how to be angry and have it be a conversation and an experience that went well or was generative or actually yielded more connection. It was usually some sort of a fight or a disagreement, and it just felt terrible. So at one point in time, I told myself, you know what? I'm just going to be the man who does not get angry.
Huh.
And, might as well be a man who does not fart. Because you're going to get angry. It's a natural, normal human emotion. And so, but I told myself that I'm not getting angry so often, I began to believe it, and I started disassociating from my anger. I was actually into a spot where I wasn't able to tell when I was feeling angry.
Huh.
And so, yeah, right?
How did that work? How long did you last without getting angry?
Not very long at all. I mean, I was probably angry on a daily basis, especially at work.
It's
So,
human, right? That's part of
yeah.
being human.
But because I had told myself I'm not going to get angry, I started believing that I never got angry, and that basically created my own version of reality, to where I just simply did not recognize my own anger. And other people probably felt it, or maybe they called it frustration, or maybe I called it frustration. You know, so like different ways to try to like bypass or avoid that emotion, and it really didn't work at all. Especially because once I started to numb out from anger, I also started to numb out from all of my other emotions as well. I started to numb out from my body, because you cannot selectively numb out from one particular sensation. You just end up putting a wet blanket on top of all of your feelings and emotions. And then all of a sudden you're not really feeling much of anything.
And so what happened next?
Well, that is when I found the orgasmic meditation community. And I initially joined that because it was like, oh, well, at the very least, I'm going to be meeting more women. So let's go see what happens. And the kind of subtle underneath the surface thing that I got out of it was being able to feel more of my own emotions again, being able to feel my anger again. And also, because of the courses and some of the really awesome coaching and feedback that I got from other community members, I was able to be like, oh, this is anger. And oh, this is what it's doing for me. It's actually trying to tell me something. It's more information and data about how I am right now. And it usually meant for me that I had a boundary that got crossed, or I had like an expectation that didn't get met, or it was like, oh, these are all really important things to notice about myself. So anger is like one of my favorite emotions at this point, because it's so incredibly useful.
How long you been practicing and coaching people about sacred sexuality and relationship?
Yeah, so I've been doing my own personal growth journey for about 8 years, and then I've been coaching and teaching folks for 6.
And Marshall, you talked about and you also coach about that emphasize on self responsibility, communication piece, energy, and magic. How do these elements come together to help individuals and couple find deeper meaning and also fulfillment in their relationships or in life in general?
Well, starting with the self responsibility piece, because I feel like that's really foundational to living a life that you love, no matter if you're like more geared towards relationship or more geared towards career, or whatever it is. Having that self responsibility is super foundational. Like most of the time, most of the folks out there in the world are so orientated to outside themselves. whether that's looking for validation or looking for reassurance or looking to blame others for things that are happening for yourself. And it's really once you start taking responsibility for yourself, your actions, your emotions, your state of being, take responsibility for everything in your life, you start to realize that, hey, I actually created everything in my life. Therefore, I'm super powerful and can change what I'm experiencing because I created all this. I can create something different if that's what you want. And then the communication piece helps get that done. You got to talk to other people. And then as you start to learn more about yourself, you start to realize, oh, there's more to me as a person, as a whole human, than just like my brain, and then my body does digestion, and then I use it to walk around. There's this whole like energy piece, this whole like, oh, I actually have more going on here that I can't actually physically touch, but there's like, oh, there's this extra part of me that's just part of who I am. And you put all this together, you sprinkle in a little bit of what seems or occurs like magic, like serendipity, things kind of happening that are awesome, and you didn't really necessarily even intentionally do that, either by yourself in your career or with a partner. For instance, you're moved, touched, and inspired at a certain point in time as you're making love with your partner to do a certain thing, and then all of a sudden the fireworks go off. Well, where did that certain thing come from?
Sure.
Maybe it's a little bit of magic.
Absolutely. And you also mentioned that your purpose is to empower individuals and to co-create deeply connected relationship that could surpass their dreams. And how do people access those? And can you share some of the success stories that your clients or yourself have experienced?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. And the step-by-step process is really starting with getting more familiar with yourself, more connected to yourself, and really believing and having faith that you can have what it is that you desire. Because if you don't have that faith, you're not going to be able to create it, because you'll just be constantly filled with thoughts of, oh, I'm not good enough, or oh, I can't have that, or oh, I couldn't do that because it's too big, or it's too much. I can't actually make that happen for myself. And so those are what we call limiting thoughts or limiting beliefs. So you kind of got to work through some of those, and then eventually you find your way into a state of like aliveness and more presence. So something I like to kind of term as turn on. And you're turned on, you're alive, you're feeling like you can actually enjoy and accept and approve of everything that's happening around you. And at that stage, you kind of enter in flow. Flow state is another thing that's kind of come up out in the culture, and that's basically what we're talking about here as well. It's like, oh, when I'm in flow, things feel full of ease. I feel full of confidence. I feel full of joy. I don't have any doubts, and all of a sudden, you're just creating the life that you want. And I've had a number of clients over the years, and one of them recently has just started a new relationship after having gone through a really bad marriage and a bad divorce. She was feeling like she couldn't trust herself, not to mention other people. And through the coaching that we've done together, she started to feel and realize more of her own self-value, and started to trust herself more, and started having the vulnerable conversations that she wanted and needed to have with this new man in her life. And as she started having these vulnerable conversations, he was able to respond and open up and be vulnerable back with her. And so they're now in much clearer communication. They're sharing vulnerably. They're creating intimacy. They're able to then now have what they want, and along with knowing, oh, hey, right now this is a boundary for me. Let's please not go here right now, which is totally okay. You don't have to be a completely open book right off the bat with somebody. You got to start building that relationship, building that connection, and it all happens at the speed that is right for you.
Absolutely. And our society here in the US or internationally, no parents sit down and teach them educate them what is love and what is relationship and how relationship and love means different things to men and women. And are the love different, or the way approach men approach love versus woman approach love are different, or they're similar?
Well, so from the people that I've worked with and from, talking with other coaches and other relationship or love professionals, it it seems like the bottom line for everybody, no matter who you are, what bits you have, or how you identify, everyone really just wants to be seen, felt, and heard.
Mm. Hmm.
And so they might have different forms or different like channels to be expressed through.
Mhm.
Uh, but at the end of the day, it's all getting to the same place of like, oh, this person can just be with me. I can just be with them, and we can just connect. We don't have to
Oh.
be doing something in particular. Sure, it's fun if we're doing something in particular that we both like, that we both
Uh-huh.
desire, and that we both consent to. Go
Mhm.
ahead, do those things, whether that's a romantic dinner or some hot passionate sex or a trip to
Mhm.
Paris, whatever it is. You
Mhm.
both want it, you consent to it. Great, go do it. And so
Uh-huh.
like these differences come in between men and women or just other people. They kind of come into play a little bit because typically someone's going to want more of this, maybe more verbal, or maybe more quality time, or maybe more
Mm.
physical touch, kind of like
Mm.
the five love languages.
Mhm.
So there are
Mhm.
different ways that we really like and prefer to receive attention and love, and being in clear communication with your partner or the person that you want to be your partner is really important, so that you're getting what you desire, that you're getting what you need, and that you're able to then ask them and say, oh, you like it this way, okay, I can give that back to you.
Mm. Mm. Absolutely, absolutely. How people like, even for me, before I took a lot of classes through you guys, that their man connection means different thing than connection for a woman, and how we can understand what is connection and how you can your connection with your partner. What are the tools people can use, or what they can learn from you and other coaches like you?
Absolutely. So I'll go ahead and name the elephant in the room. Men typically want to connect through sex, and women typically want to connect through like emotional intimacy, conversations, and the heart.
Mm.
That's typically what I see as like generalized stereotypes in the U.S., in the world, basically.
Mm.
There are obviously exceptions, because it's just a stereotype, but
Mhm.
that's what we usually find. And a lot of this comes up through what we have been acculturated to.
Mm.
We grow up as human beings in a society, in an environment, and we've got like teachers, preachers, family, friends, media, government. There are constantly reflecting opinions, telling us things, even when we're not aware of it consciously. We're absorbing all of this information. And so that's kind of where we end up. Oh, men connect through sex and women connect through emotional intimacy and like softness and heart, which can be a great place to start. But realizing that you're both looking for connection.
Mm.
And then if you can realize that that's actually what you want, is
Mhm.
connection,
Mhm. Mhm.
that you want to have intimacy, that you want to just be present with the other person. And once you realize that for yourself, you can then ask for the form of intimacy that you want. And I come from a place now where I'm always telling my clients, you can always ask for what you want unless someone's told you no, and please don't ask me again.
Oh, I see.
No. So no is a complete sentence. I invite people to take that as a complete sentence, and if somebody says no to something, just go
Mhm.
ahead and leave them alone.
Mhm.
And maybe this person's kind of in your life and you'll see them again a month later or something. You might have the opportunity to ask again for something.
Mm.
So that's a little bit more of a kind of feel it out type of thing. And if you feel like this person's not paying attention to you, not looking at you, not making eye contact, they're probably not very open. So if that's what happens, just go ahead and keep your awareness on, oh, this person said no. They look like and feel like they're still a no, so I'm not going to ask. But
Mm.
relationships can evolve and change.
Oh,
And
I see.
if you do feel like someone's all of a sudden a little bit more open with you,
Mm.
you can be like, hey, I've still got this feeling. I'd like to explore this type of connection with you.
Mm.
What is
Mm.
do you have? Is this okay? Would you like this?
Mm.
And you can kind of make it a soft invitation. You
Mm.
don't have to go in super direct and super intense.
Mm. Mm. And that's really interesting. But who should be making this kind of move, invitation? Because in some culture, right, in the US, it's more open culture in that sense. And some culture, people may be shy or they don't want to do it, way that they don't feel comfortable. Who should be going first, right? Of course, obviously, it's expected from man's side. And it's the man should be initiating and extending invitations for some of these things.
I'm of the personal opinion that it doesn't matter.
Ah.
If you desire something, you want something, that you want to have intimacy, you want to co-create connection with someone,
Mm.
just ask. I don't. It doesn't matter who you are or how you identify.
Mm.
Your vulnerability in asking for something opens the door for you to be met there.
Ah.
So your
Mm.
vulnerability is an invitation for the other person to open up vulnerably and just meet you there. And
Mm.
maybe you get to have the thing, or maybe you end up negotiating something a little bit different that neither one of
Mm.
you expected, and it's even better than what you had in mind.
Mm. Oh, wow. Wow. And you just mentioned the word of vulnerability. Looks like many men, at least my circle of friends, they don't understand.
Yeah, I totally get it, man. I totally get it. It's
And it took me a while. Of course, I understand the meaning of vulnerability, but actually, how do you do in real life? And how do you become vulnerable with your partner or with the family members or friends? Can you give us example how people can start being vulnerable?
absolutely the first thing to know about vulnerability is you're not going to figure it out. Like there is no strategy here. There's no playbook. It's not something that you sit down and write out and be like, okay, if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to get this point over here. Vulnerability is a combination of honesty, authenticity, and like the nonverbal feeling,
Mm.
the energetic or the emotion that you're going to open up and invite someone to share it with you.
Mm. Oh.
So, for instance, like if even at like a coffee shop or something, if I see a woman that I feel like I'm attracted to, I would go over there and be like, "Hi, excuse me. I know I've just popped up into your life with no, like randomly here, and I couldn't help but feel drawn over here. I really like your energy, or I noticed your smile, something like that, something vulnerable and authentic." And I'd be like, "Okay, would you like to sit down, or could I sit down and join you for a chat so that we could connect and get to know each other? I'm not asking for
Mm.
anything more than that right now."
Mm. Huh. That's great because that's reminds me. One time, you and I think Marsha gave a talk about flirting, how to flirt.
Yep.
I feel like you are expert on flirting, how to teach people flirting. So, what is flirting, and is there like we can plan how to flirt ahead of time, or how does this thing work? Because some of my friends, they're from technical background, they're engineer or doctor or professors. They start writing a question before they go and flirt.
And
This they have a strategy ahead of.
that's so if it helps you feel more relaxed and comfortable to do something like write down possible questions or write down and just even short paragraphs like, oh, I might want to talk about this. So you kind of have that sense, an idea
Mm,
of what you want to offer as you start flirting. That's okay. But once again, we're in a spot where strategy and planning is not going to get you very far. Flirting is one of those things where it's best done just for the sake of flirting. And so if you're going into you attempt to flirt with someone and you've got a goal in mind, like, oh, I want to take this person home or I want to marry this person, chances are that flirting session's not going to go all that well, because that goal, that end destination that you want to get to, adds pressure to the flirting, to that interaction. And flirting's all about just feeling and imagination. It is basically playtime for adults.
Hmm. Good, great. So what I'm hearing is that you can have some idea about certain things you can talk about, but don't go with the whole agenda planning for the future during your flirt time. Just enjoy and feel each other energy and emotion and just respond from that energy.
Absolutely. So this is one of the reasons why in my coaching and my teaching, the thing that I start everybody on is like, can you feel your body? Can you feel your emotions? Can you feel your physical sensations? So taking it from emotions deeper one level, you just feel the physical sensations that are happening in your body, because our physical sensations is what leads to emotions. Emotions are kind of like a label that our brain slaps on top of physical sensations and goes, oh, hey, the thing that I'm feeling right now, that's excitement, or that's anger, or that's sadness. And sometimes, because of the experiences that we've had in life, maybe they've been traumatic, or maybe they've just been really unpleasant, we'll accidentally, or our brain will try to protect us by slapping a different label on top of those physical sensations.
Yes.
And this is where, like, people that talk about anxiety, I just go, like, anxiety is simply more energy in your body, and it's probably actually your life force energy, and it's there for you to use it, not to use it as an excuse to get smaller and run away.
Yes. Wow. So what are you saying, that even we are depressed or we have anxiety, so we should just feel that energy, whatever that energy for you?
Yeah. And that's, kind of circling back real quick to Tantra, that's one of the deepest practices in Tantra, is bringing approval to whatever is happening in the present moment. If you can bring approval to your sensations, your body, to whatever's happening, you can therefore move through that with much more ease, confidence, and usually speed. You get to move through that spot faster.
Going back to the feelings in the physical level, emotion, Marshall, you said feel the body and all of that, because for me personally, I'm good about intuition always. I have been good about intuition, but always sort of I'm trained to use my brain more in most of the cases, because I've been trained. I'm in a finance area. I have to use a lot of brain and math sometimes, then logic. Then I can easily come with 10 different scenarios and get confused. Then, right? So then I'm learning through last almost 1 year, 9 months, that sort of feeling and making decision through my heart. And when I start feeling not too long ago, more and more, that my heart doesn't have 10 different scenarios. Either they
Right?
have yes or no. So it feels really good if you can listen my heart and follow. Of course, we have to always use our brain too. So how people can change or learn how to feel your heart, then you can feel your emotions and your body, right?
Well, that's the like the $1,000,000 question. That is the most challenging thing for most people, as far as like having actual progress and seeing transformation through any type of personal growth work. Like getting from focusing on I'm operating from my head, I exist up here, this is me, and that's the extent of you, to being more fully expressed through your body. That's the most challenging thing, because we're all so trained to be so much in our brains almost all the time. The world that we live in today is usually asking us to make like 9 million decisions a day or something ridiculous. Like there's so many choices to be made, and so we've all been so trained to think about it, to plan it out, which is amazing. Our brains are wonderful at this whole pattern recognition, planning, analyzing and weighing out risk in different scenarios and options. It's a great tool for that. But the thing that we've been disconnected from is the rest of us. And, as far as like brain or verbal goes, that's probably somewhere around like 30, maybe 40% of all of the information and communication that we make. The rest of it's nonverbal. And if it's nonverbal, it's not based in your brain. It's based in how you are feeling. Like, where is your intuition? What do you desire? Which is very much a body-based feeling sensation. And so all of this is more information that will help you actually make decisions that are true for you. And we kind of neglect that, and we kind of overlook it, and we don't value it very much. We've kind of actually got this relationship between our brain and our body a little bit inverted, where like everything about us should be feeling, taking in information. We should be listening to our heart, listening to our gut, and, listening down into our root chakra, which is down below our butt. And be like, okay, where do I feel safe? Is this feeling safe? What do I desire right now? What does my heart want? And then when you come into places where, oh, this is kind of complex, I need to like analyze some decisions, then get your brain involved. And it can come in and be an excellent support tool. And that's how you start living a life that's more aligned with who you really are.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I also have had difficulty over the years, and I always thought that going to Mount Everest from US is the longest distance. Sometimes the longest distance I'm finding then coming from head to the heart. So this travel. So
Absolutely.
that's a challenging. Of course, probably it's not easy. Otherwise, everybody would be doing it. But with the practice, I think it's possible, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the first thing that I tell people to practice is literally anything that helps them feel more in their body. Like, for instance, like one of the first and most direct things is meditation practice. Like I don't know how anybody would actually jump into this personal growth path and not have some form of meditation that they do. Because meditation is basically you training yourself to be with your brain, be with your mind, be with your thoughts, and how to not be so attached to them, not to be gripping onto each one, like until let just have your thoughts pop up. Oh, great! I have a thought. Let it go.
Oh, wow, great. Based on your experience or with the coaching you do with your clients, what are some of the common barriers that prevent individuals or couples from achieving the deep connected relationship they desire? And how do they guide them to overcome these challenges?
Yeah, excellent question. And as I've been doing this more and more, I've been finding that some clients are clients that I can help, and there are some that need more support than I'm able to offer them, because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist, so I have a certain skill set that's super awesome and useful. But for people who need something that's a little bit more really scientifically based in the body, or something that's a little bit more like, oh, we've got to add some extra things to make this journey easier for you, like a psychologist who can prescribe certain medications and things. There's people that's absolutely the right thing, and they probably need to go there. But for people who come to me and like achieve success or struggle with it, the main things are dealing with their brain. and being with things that are uncomfortable, like
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, fear, anger, maybe like sadness, depression. And so those are all experiences they've had, and they've got a past that's full of experiences that have, led them to who they are now. And they're like, they're carrying around all this weight from their past experiences, and some of them are very traumatic experiences. Some of them are more like common lowercase t traumas that are just kind of like daily experiences. Oh, this kind of sucked and I took it personally, that sort of thing. But so there's a wide range that people come in with. But if they get stuck in one of those spots, and whatever I'm saying or whatever practices I'm telling them to doing, they aren't able to take action on any of that, that's when it becomes challenging, and I would end up recommending that they go see somebody who can more accurately and actually help them, like a psychiatrist, psychologist, maybe another medical doctor of some kind. Because I work best with folks who are able to jump in, look at those uncomfortable spots, confront those pieces of themselves, confront those past experiences, be like, oh, this is actually not what I want to experience going forward. I'm going to do the work with myself and my brain and my body and my mind to let those parts go, or to integrate any sort of lessons they actually want to take with them going forward.
Hearing all of that so maybe in one partner maybe ready to continue the relationship or go in a deeper level, other person maybe they come up with a lot of background of challenges, could be depression or anxiety and all of that, so they're not in the same energy level. So what I'm hearing you that maybe the person who needs extra help, they go and get that help first before they can come back and continue and exploring and deepening the relationship. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, absolutely. Because as much as I would love to help everyone, to save everyone, and to have everyone feel more empowered and healed and whole, I'm just one person. I can't actually do that. So I work with the people, and I like really take it slow on the intakes to see if like, oh, can I really truly help you, or do you need something that's a little bit more than what I offer?
Yeah.
Or something different from what I offer. It might not even be that's more. It's just something you actually are in a different spot, and you're better off with somebody else. But for the people who are, kind of just ready to take action on really and committed to changing what they're experiencing, I find that when they've got that motivation and drive, that's going to be the type of person who I can really help, because they'll be more proactive about doing practices like meditation or like this thing called fear inventory on their own, without me having to constantly remind them. If I'm constantly reminding you and basically nagging you and reminding you of your mom or your dad, that's not super great. But if I can like tell you, hey, this feels like where you are. Is that true for you? Am I connected with you? Am I feeling you? Am I hearing you correctly and explaining what your challenges are? And if they get, well, yes, so they're like, okay, great. Here's what you can do. Try this out. And if they go and try it, and they actually stick with it long enough to keep trying it, and be like, oh, I'm all of a sudden feeling different. I'm having a different experience of life. Those are the people that I work best with.
Wow, that's great. I'm learning so much with this conversation today. I was thinking that maybe it's mostly for my audience, but I'm actually learning a lot. So that's wonderful.
Real quick, I also love helping people see new perspectives of
absolutely.
life.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree with you, because I'm kind of always been a very curious person. So that's why I sometimes tell people, like, for the happiness, it's for me, it's like a 3 C's. Sometimes I tell them curiosity, connection, then that will give you contentment, right? Of course, we have to have a courage along the way, because everything is risky in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where that like
Ah,
anxiety and fear can come in and
mm,
totally derail you. And it takes courage to confront
mm,
those fears and to face them and to be like, okay, I'm feeling fear, but I'm not
ah,
going to let this stop me. It's not that you all of a sudden are impervious to fear and you don't feel it. You know actually how to embrace it
mm.
and to handle it.
That's really powerful, Marshall, because a lot of some of the people I
Yeah.
know in the past or other thing, they think that they're not ready for a relationship or they have a fear or anxiety, so they will stop or they said like I need more space before we move on. If people say I need a space, what does it mean and how long that space, and that means you should not communicate with them or that leave them alone, or how do you handle it?
Well, that's
Okay.
challenging because it's on a case by case basis. It's rare that one
Mhm.
situation is the same as the next, and even
Mm.
maybe with the same person. So when someone says I need space, I highly advise just
Uh-huh.
taking them exactly at their word and just automatically just
Mm.
backing off, giving them space. If they're able to like clearly
Mm.
articulate that, that's wonderful. That's already light
Oh,
years
wow.
ahead of a lot
So
of
it's okay
folks.
then ask, do you need
People
1
don't
week
even
or 2 weeks
realize.
or a month before I communicate? Or are you going to communicate with me after you're ready, or how people should communicate?
Yeah, absolutely. Ideally, that person who is requesting space can offer
Mm.
some sort of time frame on how much they need.
Mm.
Sometimes they're not able to, so it's going to take a lot of patience on the
Mhm.
other person's side, and a lot of really just
Mm.
gracing and love to be able to give
Mm.
that person what they need, because
Mm.
they're not asking for a desire,
Mm.
they're asking for something that they need, and if they don't get it, shit's going to
Mm.
go south.
Mm.
It's just going to get worse. This is how you get locked into having the same argument until 4 in the morning. Somebody says, "Hey, I'm done," and the other person goes,
Uh-huh.
"No, come back
Just
here."
leave them alone until they're ready. Yeah, great. Marshall, your coaching is founded in creating a space for possibility. And can you elaborate on what this space looks like and how it facilitates transformation in your clients' lives?
Yeah, absolutely. And it gets back to that thing I was talking about being
Mm.
able to introduce
Mhm.
new perspectives for folks. Because usually we, walk around in life and we've got a certain set of beliefs or a certain world view. This
Mhm.
is the way my life is.
Mhm.
This is the way that things are, and
Mm.
that's just how it
Mhm.
goes. Which it can be
Mhm.
very incredibly limiting. Because if you've got that sort of mindset, then what space is there for
Yeah.
anything new to occur? And chances are, like most people who walk around with that sort of mindset have
Mm.
a very small window of this
Mhm.
is what is, this is how things are, I
Mhm.
can't do anything to change this. And that's
Mhm.
just not true. I mean, there are certain things like gravity, which, good luck arguing against that. But like this mindset of like, oh, this is exactly how things are. I can't make more money is incredibly limiting, or I can't go date that attractive woman because
Mm.
I'm not attractive enough myself
Mm.
is very limiting. It's like,
Mm.
who told you those things? Do you actually
Mm.
want to still believe them? What if it were possible to go make more money? What if it were possible to at
Mm.
least go say hello? I can't
Mm.
guarantee it's going to be possible to date that woman, but if you sure as heck can't date that woman if you don't at least say hello first.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I agree with you. And I'm sort of sometimes that way. It's whenever I in one job or something, I'm okay to take a risk. And I said, like, if I don't ask, it's already a no. If I ask, maybe it's a yes. If not, no is already no there anyway.
Exactly, exactly. And so one of my favorite things to do is
Mm.
to work with my clients who have those sort of beliefs, and then just go like, well, I hear that you say that that's
Mm.
where you're at and that that's what things are. But you also told me you desire
Mm.
experiencing this other thing, this thing that's new or
Mm.
different or that you've always wanted. Are you currently
Mm.
having the thing that you've always
Mhm.
wanted?
Mm.
And the
Mm.
answer is usually no, I'm not. I'm like, well, you're not going to be able to have the thing that you've always wanted if you keep doing the things that you've done.
Yes.
And so then it becomes a question of how do you feel safe enough to try something that feels riskier?
That's really, I'm finding more and more that's one of the biggest factor in relationship, especially with women, because what I found through this relationship experiment classes and all of that, and talking with women, and they said, like, the number one is always the safety and security. Unless they have that one, they don't have a trust in you, then they cannot be vulnerable, they cannot lean in. That means there is no connection, meaning there is no relationship really, because if they close up and they don't have a safety around it, looks like, yeah, it's very different than man.
Well, interestingly, it works the same way for men. It's just that generally women are very occupied and concerned about their own physical safety. And generally, whether they're aware of it or not, men are very concerned about their own emotional safety. And like, if I be vulnerable, am I still a man? Is it safe to do this? Is she going to think less of me? All of these things, because those are the two spots for men and women that we usually experience the most like pain or suffering, or have had the worst experiences of our lives with the opposite sex. Is women, their physical safety, men, their emotional safety.
Wow. Thank you for that $1 million answer. That's really the key for many people, especially many men. For us, we don't understand that way.
Absolutely.
Because we haven't never been trained how to be vulnerable, how to share emotions, because our parents or our culture doesn't promote that.
Yeah, and we're usually told to view feeling emotions as weakness. And as a man, the most important thing is clearly to be strong and independent, and to do everything on your own, and to know everything on your own. Well, that feels really isolating. Chances are that's not a great way to experience connection. I wouldn't advise going along that route, but many folks do, because that's what they're told to do, basically. That's what they've been trained to do. Is men, it's like, oh, I'm going to go do my own thing, be an island.
Yes. Now, for our listeners who might be interested in exploring your coaching and your work, what are some of the steps they should be taking so that their journey towards life and a fulfilling life can be achievable?
Well, the first thing is to start to have a deeper relationship with yourself. To spend more time on your own, just by yourself, without any other people to interact with. Put down your phone, turn that off, turn your laptop off, and start spending even just small chunks of time just with yourself. Even if it's like 5 to 15 minutes. And if you can start doing that, you'll start to get to know yourself better. And you'll also learn the very important skill of slowing down. Because so often we're in a go, 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 do, act, plan, strategize the next actions while you're already doing something. All of this action, we don't ever take enough time for ourselves to simply be, and just simply, maybe even just notice the world around us. And I first got exposed to this through learning how to really appreciate nature. Yep. I got into really loving just being at the beach. I went on hikes. I spent 8 months up in Alaska and really loved connecting to all of the wilderness up there. So and if you can't take these trips, you can still connect to yourself inside your own apartment. So you're not limited by money or where you live. Find a way and a space that feels comfortable to pause your life, basically slow down, and all of your worries, all of your problems, all of your emails, and all of your responsibilities will be there in 5 minutes or 15 minutes. But can you set them down for just a brief period of time?
And now you're teaching this class about Tantric masculinity, and can you tell us what that is and who can join that program? and how they can get a hold of you or where they can find more information.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can get a hold of me on Facebook or Instagram. I'm on both as Marshall Graeber. Oh, my Instagram is actually Marshall D. Graeber. My middle initials on there. I believe there'll be some links for that. So you can reach out to me directly on Facebook Messenger or Instagram DMs. I'm a public profile on there, so anybody can reach out to me. And that's how you can get to know more about what working with me looks like and how it could work for you. Regarding Tantric Masculinity, it's going to be an 8-week men's course on Zoom, and it starts Monday, July 15th. It'll be 8:30 Eastern to 10:30 Eastern in the evening. And if you're a man and you want to explore how to have this relationship with yourself and how to bring your aliveness, your power, and your authenticity and your vulnerability out into the world, this is the place to do it.
Nice. And people can join from pretty much anywhere, right? Over the Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's on Zoom, so it's not limited to a geographical location. The time of the day might be a little prohibitive for some folks who like to sleep at night, depending on their time zone. But yeah, no matter where you are, you can come and join.
That sounds great. Is there any takeaway for our listeners from our conversation today? Anything, one or two action item they should be thinking about going forward, either joining your coaching program or other programs? What would you recommend?
Well, I really recommend doing that practice of connecting with yourself, because it's through connecting with yourself and being more present with yourself in your body that you'll start to feel more of your own intuition. And that will really help guide you into the various directions that you want to go. So, to start with that sense of, oh, this is something that I want for me, not because somebody told me I should want it, or I imagined one day eventually achieving this great thing. Like, oh, do you actually want this thing? And that's very much found in your body, not in your brain. So the more embodiment that you can do, meditation, hell, taking a walk, either around the block or out in a park or wherever, and really just focusing on your heels hitting the ground can be a great way to start feeling more present in your body. And that's really where to start doing this work to be more connected to yourself, and then allow that to guide you. There's a lot of really amazing people out there that are doing coaching work like I am, or therapy or psychology or something. And if you just start with, oh, hey, this is what I want, you can then just Google search or start talking to your friends like, hey, I'd like to do this thing. I'm called to go take action here. And you can end up finding exactly what you need. It's really kind of, this is where a bit of the magic comes in, to be honest. Like, oh, I know what I want now. And eventually you'll magnetize it to you. It'll pop up in your life without you even necessarily putting in a whole bunch of time, energy, and effort to do it. It'll just be like, oh, you're now ready for this thing. That old adage, like, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
That's
Has
really
a lot of truth.
great. This is a perfect place to conclude our programs. And I would like to thank you, Marshall, again for joining us. This is such a delightful conversation and so insightful and eye-opening. Hope many of our audience take a time to listen once, twice, and then go out and reach out to you or people like you out there. So now.
Yeah. And then last thing real quick is I also gave your team a link to book a free call with me. So if you're really feeling motivated to reach out to me, you can use the link that I'm sure Suresh's team will provide to you guys to directly book a call with me, and we can have a free, no obligation chat.
That sounds wonderful. So we'll add, make sure to add that link there. Thank you. And now we'll conclude with the brief meditations to close our conversation here. Just stay with us. We'll go back to breathing 3 times. Inhale from nose and exhale from mouth. Make sure that we are send love to ourselves first, and we send love to the people we love, just give love one at a time. And of course, you can give to many, many people and to the rest of the world. Let's send loving kindness to all beings for their happiness, peace, and contentment. Thank you for joining again. We'll see you next time.